Broadcasting live from the IRSMedic studios, it's Parental Advisory. Welcome to Parental Advisory. Today we're talking about FATCA lawyers. So we began doing a series on our brother YouTube channel, IRSMedic.com, about FATCA. Starting to answer some basic questions. We did talk about why it's so annoying and getting into some of the ins and outs of FATCA. And what we found on YouTube was that people were a little angry with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting some comments.
They think we suck.
Yes. Yes, they think we are the ones who are part of the problem.
But what we're trying to get across is basically we think FATCA's stupid.
Yeah.
Would we like to fight it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Does it need to go away? Badly.
Yes.
We're just saying this is what it is, though. Just saying what it is doesn't mean we're, yay, FATCA.
Right. It's like when I try to explain life to my daughter. It sort of sucks. There's some times when it sucks, but you got to deal with it. There's ways, of course, you can try to fight it. But when it comes to the government, not necessarily the easiest thing to do.
Not the easiest thing in the world, because you're fighting forces beyond control of normal things. You know, there's the Rand Paul FATCA lawsuit that is being argued by the gentleman who won the Citizens United free speech suit. And there might be some more recent updates, but there was I think a summary judgment that was lost. He's one that's bringing that lawsuit. You know, the chances of it winning are just incredibly remote because you're fighting a government that only wants to get bigger.
Yes.
That is the number one thing. How do you fight something that is unionized to get bigger? Something where the more you spend, the more likely it is you'll get reelected. How do you possibly fight that? Armed revolution.
And I think what's frustrating in a case like this is we've talked a lot of times about the strong lobby wins.
Right.
Right. So if a certain lobby wants something, they use their power and their money to get it. In this case, it almost seems like it's even above the lobbies.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct, because the strongest lobby is the U.S. government.
Yes.
And, you know, as we look through this, you know, when FATCA came in, I mean, it came out of nowhere. I don't even remember, I subscribe to a lot of, tax legal things. And this just was like, what happened now? What? Now, why would you go and do that? That doesn't make any sense. This sounds completely horrible.
Yeah.
And you're just creating compliance work that will do nothing to actually create additional compliance. You already have horrific FBAR penalties that can be 50% of people who don't report their accounts. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you're saying is someone who's willing to evade taxes by not filing FBAR is somebody who's not willing to take steps to avoid the fact that they own an account. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a ridiculous thing. All you're doing is making it more of a pain in the ass for the people who are legitimate and not hiding anything.
Yep.
Just like, all of government, I suppose.
And you know what? We'll put a link in this video for repealfatca.com, which I think is just a fantastic website.
Oh, God.
But there's some really interesting information. It said the first salvo came out on March 2nd, 2011. It was in the form of a letter to President Obama, signed by the state of Florida's entire congressional delegation. It condemned the IGAs, which are the
intergovernment agreements.
Yep. It said they were reaching beyond the scope of Congress's original intent and would cause serious irreparable harm to the U.S. economy. So right off the bat, congressmen were like, dude, not a good idea.
Right. And because there's people who could see, wait, I'm representing a constituency that's going to be harmed by this. And, I talk to people every day who manage, they're a U.S. person and they're managing funds for a non-U.S. person. Okay. They're just managing the funds. They don't own it. Hey, I'm just managing it. I was hired to manage the funds, be a fiduciary, trustee, agent, whatever the case may be. And now they're saying, well, the client doesn't want me to be the manager anymore because I have to put that down because I do have a signatory authority on this. So now I no longer get the money because this person doesn't want me unless I renounce my citizenship. No longer become a U.S. person, will I be able to do this? Mm-hmm. So U.S. advisors are at this significant disadvantage. They're losing money, and then, you know what? Dumb government Guess how much of the taxes you're going to get on the income they're not making. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? But see, it's really not about revenue. That's what I've always said. The IRS is really not about revenue. It's creating a large government that will always have some sort of employment for people and plenty of room for advancement and plenty of room for supervisors. But that's not just the IRS, that's everywhere. And even in the Pentagon. I mean, come on, the Pentagon is so full of stupid politics and stupid programs of wasteful things.
Yep.
And sometimes I think I sound like a little bit like a lefty here because I'm like, God damn, I mean, I wonder how many wars are kind of like made because it was a nice promotion. And there really were some horrible wars. I'm
actually reading a book right now that attorney Robert Hansen gave me called Tax Wars. And it talks about all the different wars and how the taxes, how they're,
Oh, I look forward to your report on that.
But it's like the bigger you get, the more power you have.
Right, and the Banana Republic Wars, the U.S. Marines the U.S. Marine general in charge of a lot of the things that were going to overthrow governments down in Central America. He was like, yeah, this was one of the nastiest things I've ever done. It's completely dishonest and completely crap. And it was really,
but
really
I got
sickening.
A promotion.
But look at this. That's really the thing when you put things in perspective. Get the big picture. You have a unionized government, and you have agents of the government that the more they spend, the more likely it is that they will be able to continue to have power. So why would they ever do one thing that's going to reduce their power? People like money. Mm-hmm. People like power.
Yep.
And just because they work in D.C., it doesn't make them benevolent, really.
True.
That might, yeah.
But, okay, so let's touch quickly on FATCA attorneys.
Okay.
Attorneys can have a bad rap.
Yeah.
As we know.
Yeah.
But I think in the, what we were saying is we're sort of the anti-lawyer.
Right. There's, we actually want to get a case solved as quickly as possible for the least amount of money, least amount of expense to the client. And that's why we charge a flat fee and not this hourly stuff. Because I've seen it many times. We take over a case.
Yeah.
The attorney was milking a case to death, doing the churn, which is a technical term in the legal field, where, you have a client who's not so fee sensitive, so you just invent work. Or, like, oh, yeah, this would be a good thing to do this. Was it necessarily the case? Not at all. But did it give you some great billable hours? Yes, it did. That was the reason why you did it.
Yep.
And so that happens. And I mean, it's a known thing. And I mean, a lot of people, they've gone through it and they're like, I guess it's just the price you have to pay if you want, the best. Well, I'm just going to disagree with that. That there is a better way to do things. And so we tend to be, there's a lot of other attorneys who aren't a big fan of me because I would just rather not try to squeeze as much out of people, but look for other opportunities, other ways.
Right.
And I just think I think it's just really wrong.
I sort of take it personally sometimes because I've had jobs that the company wasn't looking out for the best interest of their consumer. Whereas when I leave here at the end of the day, I'm sort of like, you can't fight the government, but we tried our best today to help people, to fight a little fight. And, we want to do what's best for the client, not make a ton of money. If we did both, it'd be great.
Yeah, we're on our way to a ton of money. We're getting there.
But our end goal is not how quickly can we get through this. And
how much can we squeeze out of one person? And it's just wrong. And one of the things, and I just would say, any attorneys out there doing it, you know what? Your life, you're pretty friggin' miserable. I'm going to tell you you're miserable. And how do I know this? Because attorneys are my number one clients. And I know how miserable you are. And I know how much you're against it. And I know how much sometimes it just doesn't seem right. I know how much your staff despises you. And the number one thing to demoralize your subordinates is a lack of integrity. When people see there's a lack of integrity, morale stinks. And when they know, and you can get away with, the thing is, people will compromise their integrity for a paycheck. That's what happens. But it doesn't put a smile on their face. People don't like that, where the person who's the leader is the one who is the, chief scumbag in charge. Mm-hmm. And regardless of your legal skills, which may be awesome, which may be better than mine, your quality of life sucks. Because you're miserable, because you're not doing the right thing.
Yep.
Take care of your clients first and don't do that. Don't rip people off by giving them some bill they'll never figure out. Oh yeah, they'll never know. They'll never know. They know. They just know it's not worth their time to fight it because you're an attorney,
right?
And you will turn into super attorney once someone is challenging you.
And I think FATCA attorneys are pretty necessary because FATCA is it's incredibly complicated. The U.S. tax code is the most complicated thing on earth. FATCA, to wrap your head around and the penalties and the interest and all sorts of crap that can happen. I think FATCA attorneys are not out there. Well, some of them may be, just trying to make a buck. But some of them, you need an attorney to get through the paperwork. The average Joe would have a hard time.
Oh, God, no. And there's always something you have to, there's always something, when I'm talking to somebody, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I think I know the answer. And then I'm like, no, there's something here. You just get like a spidey sense of like, there's some issue going on. I can't really put my finger on it, but there's something more I need to look at. And I don't know the answer yet. You just get like feelings. And then you sort of think about it, then you talk about it, and they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, there's something huge. Oh yeah. Yeah, we better do that. And
Yep.
it's just critical of having a team. And I would say this about FATCA attorneys. There's not, a lot of tax attorneys, a lot of tax professionals, they did want, they love having it complicated, but nobody wanted it this complicated. Okay? And the same thing with the Affordable Care Act, which has its own crazy things. Everyone likes a level of compliance. No one wants this crazy level of compliance. That it's too hard because the amount of compliance required, a lot of these things. Well, that's fine. You've created a lot of work. Guess what? You have very few clients who can afford that compliance work. Mm-hmm. So yes, they need to get it done. Yes, they're in non-compliance. Yes, they're going to get huge penalties if they're not. But guess what? They're not going to hire you. Because to do the job correctly, this is what it's going to cost. And so now what are they doing? They're just sort of, I don't know. I don't know what to do. We're just out there gambling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. We've talked to a lot of people that were, we gave them our flat fee quote to say, this is what it's going to cost. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And there's no way I could afford to pay that. And I said, I could understand that. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah.
And the taxpayer advocates can't help you with this. They don't know how to do this. They'd be completely clueless on how to do this. And no one at the IRS is really going to help you. No. What?
No. So I guess the bottom line is FATCA is not going away anytime soon as far as we can see.
I don't know what. I guess my question is how. How does it go away? Does it go away because of a lawsuit? It's possible. I haven't heard any Republican candidate talk about it. Mm-hmm. Maybe Marco Rubio because he was he was part of the so he might have.
Well, this was back in 2000. Representative Bill Posey, a Florida-based Republican.
Okay.
He wrote a strongly worded letter to the new Treasury Secretary. This is also from repealfatca.com.
Okay.
In the early July of this year, insisting that the Treasury was exceeding its authority in negotiating the IGAs. Yeah. So somebody else that went, guys, this is just above what we should be doing. Yeah. This is not necessary.
And that's actually part of the lawsuit that I recall. The IGAs did, and that's actually one of the arguments they're bringing, which is a pretty strong constitutional argument that you don't have the authority to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think it might violate the separation of powers, which is usually a winning issue. Separation of powers is one of the things that they get a little upset about. How big the government's going to be, they kind of like, yeah, we don't care how big it is. But you took away power from this person, maybe we'll get us upset about it.
Yep.
Maybe we will.
Exactly. FATCA attorneys aren't necessarily bad guys. Nope. I would say just because we specialize in FATCA doesn't mean we agree with it, and we're not big jerks.
No, and I don't like the IRS. I would prefer that the personal income tax go away forever because I personally see the damage it does to people every day. Yes, people do hire me for it to help them with it, but I would find something else to do. I'm pretty creative.
Some other talents.
All right, I'd do something else. We'd get the band back together. Right? And people would have all this money to spend on bands because they don't have to pay the IRS. So, hey, man, let's rock it out.
Make some records. All right. Well, thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments, comment below. But again, remember, not big jerks. Not big jerks. No. You can thumbs up. You can leave questions. And we want to thank you for watching. You can subscribe to our channel for future podcasts as well. Thanks for joining Parental Advisory, hosted by Anthony Parent, produced by Claudine Gindel, that's me, engineered by Chris Chen. For more podcasts, visit our website at parentaladvisoryshow.com and like us on Facebook to submit story ideas. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IRSMedic.com, the law offices of Parent, and Wynn, LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.